Good afternoon, listeners, both in the Gambia and abroad. This is Larry Sise with my colleague Lamin Mane. We are back at Eco TV to talk about 4 different issues. Issue 1 is the offshore oil and gas saga, Far Oil. Issue number 2 is the Russian oil scandal. Issue number 3 is the new IEC appointments. And issue number 4 is the Parliamentary Commission on the sale of the Jame assets. Assalamu alaikum badim mandinkol. Ani moko tangolu menu be lamoy kanna. Gambia kono. Ani Gambia e bantala. Ntelam la risise. Nata futa nang Eco TV kote kenil na colleague Lamin Mane. Purkal kachandi. Bi kacha nak abe kela kacha dula nani let. Kacha dula follow Gambia la tulu ning gas ko. Kacha fulanjang Russia la ning oil scandal men hanibim ba fokan. Kacha sabanjang Independent Electoral Commission ye mo kutolu me baro mo kutolu menu appoint je. Isu nani njang Parliamentary Commission me alonko be jamela fengolu wafi nya kisi kan bimbe nyum dula nanol bal kachan dula nanol janimba dila Lamin Mane la ngamo dole soto ko ibukan na maninka kan mo idula bi hay konkata coffee time ka barin katwa bukan la foje jamaman tuwa kan moy nyimolu namol la muy be tanje badala je
okay
be kontonna nata fo e karila moy Eco TV la because sometimes nka broadcast ke maninka count
yes
so tanje namol men be tanje mbalbe kontonna tanje is a very interesting place UDP mol bije NPP mol bije
okay
bare ika nyosana uya
okay yeah ndeke bali nyam
so walati na je diata nyembe control na mbe jaila
very good
okay lan
yes thank you very much baraka bake lare mbe lamoy lal be control na mbe fole ko assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah katu ye nyi ben kete ngalo be tata bakal ka molu control je ndike lamoy ne fala mel kala ko molu fonni mfana mbato fara advantage nga take advantage of that ngamba ba control mama kadi mane brikama be control na bake be control na ni fama mbal control na bake ani mfango bari ma pamane jina kini kiti be control na bake be kay ngatu modo katu molu ka ko molu fonye ke la moyen nay ka fanya la baraka watini wati ka fana la ala baraka be tata jere bari butung ya la re afnya mbi nalu ka tara fanna jamala ni wato e sola ala baraka bake.
Okay, now the Russian the Far Oil issue. You know Lamin, I am going to start the discussion with the president's statement that he is going to make Gambia the oil hub of West Africa. Now, our country, the oil hub of the West African coast, we need to applaud that. And we also need to applaud that cautious applauding. We need to be also cognizant of the fact that there must be a very good reason for him to say that. But after we talked about the Far Oil issue in another platform, the Ministry of Petroleum issued a press statement. That press statement actually didn't raise more questions than provided answers.
Yeah.
And so we felt there is a need to come back to the issue so that we can lay bare some of the facts around our oil and natural gas potential. It is along those lines that we are going to frame today's conversation. For acknowledgements, there have been studies on our offshore oil and gas and other what they call rare earth minerals. One such study was done by Henk Cambrick, and it was published on November 12, 2004. The second acknowledgement is the work that lawyer Usman Bai, who is in the UK, has been doing on the tracking the far oil issue. And the third ones are, personally I got interested in it after I read articles from the Standard newspaper, and then another article from Kerfatu, and a series of articles from Fatu Network. I think we for transparency and professionalism's sake, we need to acknowledge that those are sources that we are going to be dealing with. Now, I want to organize this discussion based on phases. The first phase is, when did FAR actually get to come to the Gambia? They were here, but in 2017, they signed an agreement with the Gambia government, which gave them a working interest and operatorship in two highly, what they call, prospective offshore blocks. Blocks A2 and A5. They are offshore in the Gambia. That was in July 2017. That contract was renewed again on July 26, 2023. 2017, then renewed again, July 6, 2023, for 12 months. And that 12 months should take the contract up to September 30, 2025. The question to frame around that is, why did the Gambia government sign this July 2017 contract, and why did they extend it in July 2023? If they are able to answer those questions, we'll have a very good perspective of why certain things are happening. As I said, in July 2017, FAR signed, it secured both what they call a working interest and operatorship in two promising offshore blocks, A2 and A5. Now again, there is a company called Petronas. Petronas is a subsidiary of the Malaysian energy company. Petronas came into the scene in 2020 with a contract that gave it 90% of whatever they prospect and 10% to the Gambia government. That was with Petronas. Another MOU was signed with NNPC, Nigeria. That's the Nigerian oil company. And that was signed in 2023. Information on that is very scarce. You look everywhere, you cannot lay your hands on them. Now, FAR, in a news conference, the news conference was on October 26, 2019. FAR did a news conference in which they say that Gambia's oil potential is 1.2 billion barrels of oil. Now remember, the same FAR says Senegal's potential was 230 million barrels of oil from Sangoma. 230 million barrels versus 1.2 billion.
And for the Gambia, that was from A2
and A5
yeah.
only.
Yeah.
A2 and A5 are part of 6 blocks.
Yes.
A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, and A6.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the map that is going to be posted with this broadcast, you realize that the borders between Gambia's A2 and A5 and Senegal's Sangoma are very contiguous. In fact, when you look at the map, you realize that the potential for A2 and A5 is much greater than what is in Senegal's Sangoma. Just people should focus on those maps to see the level and the extent of Gambia's potential versus Senegal's potential. Now, the second frame is that Far Oil sold its stake in Senegal. Remember, I said Senegal's Sangoma had a potential, according to FAR, of 230 million barrels of oil. They didn't talk a whole lot about the natural gas part. But FAR sold its interest in those 230 million barrels. And the stake for those 230 million barrels is 4.6 billion US dollars. FAR sold that concession on the 9th of July, 2021. According to FAR, in that same news conference, they sold that concession in order to focus solely on the Gambia, because the potential for the Gambia apparently is greater than what obtained in Sangoma. So, an international company like FAR will not buy a concession in Senegal, sold it, and then focus on the Gambia, comes into the Gambia, prospects because the potential was greater than Senegal, and then just walked away from it. The government needs to come out and clear that thing. Before I get you in, because we are almost halfway through on this topic, 2 weeks ago, Senegalese TV was replete with programs with a very well-informed seismologist who has a long history of engagement in the Senegalese oil industry. I don't want to call the name, but he says categorically, and I think I forwarded the video clip to the team here. He says categorically that not only is there oil in the Gambia, but that Senegal may be benefiting from Gambian oil. So people should put all that into context. FAR left the Gambia, and we don't know why they left with all this potential. I will leave it at that.
Yeah, and I think the gentleman in Senegal, I think we can mention, because he's a very knowledgeable guy.
Yeah.
And he has done enormous work on natural resources, particularly oil resources in the sub-region. This gentleman is Clédor Sen.
Yeah, Mr. Sen.
And Clédor is very knowledgeable and very thorough in his investigation. This is the guy who would even jump into speedboats, go out
oil rigs.
Into the oil rigs to check, to do things, and deep sea diving, check things. He's very thorough in what he did. And Clédor is telling us the same thing that we have been saying for years now, that the Gambia is sitting on a gold mine with considerable reserves in oil and gas. And as you said, how come FAR comes here, invests in exploration, finds that there's something here interesting in its own General Assembly and puts it at 1.2 billion at least.
Just for 2 blocks.
For 2 blocks, A2 and A5. And actually, if you take A2 and A5, the area is about 2,500 to 2,000 to 3,000
kilometers.
Square kilometers, yeah. That's the exclusive economy. So this is a relatively small area in potential we have there. So what do we have in the other? A1 and A4, A3 and A6 are all sitting there.
Yeah. We don't know the potential.
Exactly. Not much exploration has been done on it, or at least not much information has been shared with the public. This government just sits on information, nothing comes out unless we push it to do it, or somebody else pushes it to do it. This is what happened with the mortgaging of the Senegambia bridge. It took CNBC coming out for them to come out and admit it. The $75 million swap agreement with the Afrexim Bank, the same thing. They sat on it until we came last week and talked about it on Thursday. On Friday, they did the press conference. And what are they going to tell us about this and when? These institutions don't come to a country, invest so much money, and just walk away like that. What happened? Petronas did not come to buy 50% of FAS shares in the Gambia and incorporate a company here. They incorporated PC Gambia, which was their subsidiary in the Gambia dealing with oil exploration.
Woodside Energy also.
It was here. Tulo was here. An Irish farm. There was a Nigerian farm you mentioned. They said there were many people here. British Petroleum was here. All of those companies don't come just by chance. It's because they smell blood. They smell money here. Just like the shark in the river, when they smell blood or taste it, they will all come. These companies are out to make money, and who can blame them? That's what they are incorporated for. They sense a potential of making money in the Gambia. They came here. They invested heavily. Why did they all invest all that money and time in the Gambia and just walk away? It's not normal. Something is amiss, and the government has to talk about it, because we have a potential for just growing this country's economy and just being great in the sub-region. But for me, the consolation probably, I say to myself, maybe it's a blessing. Because the corruption we see in this government, if they exploit oil resources here, the Gambia is dead. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Once there's a change in government, we will get the information and we will do what is required. Because the Gambia is sitting on huge oil and gas reserves. Nobody can make anybody believe that Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, all of those people have huge oil and gas reserves. And nature hates us so much that it just skips over the Gambia and goes to other places.
But that's why in the literature, FAR and all these oil companies, they have classified this area as MSGB.
Yeah.
Basin.
Yeah.
Mauritania, Senegal, Gambia, Bissau Basin.
Exactly.
Now that has extended to Sierra Leone, and it goes down to Gabon all the way down.
Yeah.
Even South Africa, 2 weeks ago,
announced
massive natural gas and oil reserves and the Western Cape in the Atlantic Ocean there. So it's the same fault line.
The same fault line, the same continental shelf, the same sedimentary areas, and you telling us that all of those people have it except the Gambia. And if you look at Sangomar, it's contiguous.
Yeah.
It's contiguous to A2 and A5. So it's like you have a well in compound A, you dig and you're getting very good water supply. Compound B next door, which has a fence with it, you say, no, there's no water in this one. Come on, give us a break.
Again, if you look at the maps, especially the 3 or 4 last maps, where it shows the location of Sangomar, it shows the location of A2, A5. I came across something which I have not been able to put my fingers on yet. And that is that a lot of people in this country have not heard about the Gambia Petroleum Commission, National Petroleum Commission. But there is a National Petroleum Commission. Like everything else, everything is done below radar, and you don't know what is happening. But there are indications that the contiguousness of Sangoma to A2 and A5, that the borders may have been redrawn. This is something that the government needs to come out and clarify. Because if the borders have been redrawn between Sangoma and A2, A5, and if you look at the map, the fault line goes into all of A5. So potentially, what is in A2, A5 eclipses what is in Sangoma. And if the borders have been redrawn, I don't know who has redrawn those borders, on whose authority those borders were redrawn. But if they are redrawn, the government through the National Petroleum Commission needs to come out and say something about it. In doing the research on this thing, I recall in South Africa some years back, there was a gentleman from this National Petroleum Commission who went to Cape Town. There was an international energy in Daba. In Daba is Kisu Zulu for meeting. And this individual made a presentation there on this very potential oil and natural gas. And then all of a sudden, you don't hear about the National Petroleum Commission. You don't hear about the full extent of our natural endowments. Why are we interested in this? We are interested in this because this is our in situ natural resource that belongs to all Gambians. An in situ natural resource like this is a game changer for our economic development.
Absolutely.
And that game changing basically means that we'll say goodbye to poverty and all of the other issues that we are now dealing with, because there will be resources to move the country in ways that are that we are seeing in the Gulf states.
Yes, because the risk there is that huge potential is there, but if you don't have a virtuous government, we risk having it. Yes, we risk having what is called the Dutch curse. You will have those huge natural resources, and it ends up in what? In conflict, in repression, in the government becoming autocratic and just keeping all the resources for itself. We have seen it in numerous African countries, endowed with huge natural resources, but which are among the poorest in the continent and which are conflict-ridden, as opposed to, as you said, in the Gulf states, where the leadership has managed to take control of natural resources to use for the development of the country. You might say the distribution is not perfect in those areas either, but at least the resources are controlled by the country and they stay in the country. So we need a virtuous government to sustainably exploit those resources and just move the whole country out of poverty.
And
into a first world economy.
Immediately moving the country out of poverty.
Into a first world economy.
From a least developed country to probably a middle income country or even an
upper
middle income country. Finally, the Gambia government has signed an agreement with BP, which was for 6 years, and that was signed in 2020. So that too is going on until 2026. And we are not hearing anything.
Actually, that ended.
Oh.
It ended because BP, under the pretext that they are going to focus more on renewable energies, decided to exit the Gambia.
That too.
And that was extremely suspicious. And for that, when they were exiting the Gambia, they paid only $5 million to exit, without performing its contractual obligations, which are much, much higher. It took the African Development Bank and the African Legal Support Facility stepping in and assisting the country and eventually BP paid an exit fee of $30 million to
which nobody hears about.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we need to have answers to these questions. And please, government, if you are listening, don't deflect. And don't attack. We want answers, simple answers. Now we go to the second item, which is the Russian oil scandal.
Yeah.
I'll lead you, you will lead that for us.
Yes, the Russian oil scandal is another horrible situation for the country, and it's a real scandal. Russia is under sanctions right now for what's happening in Ukraine and the rest. And they cannot sell their oil resources or can sell them legally and easily on the international market. So some people are going around the sanctions, doing sanctions busting to try to sell the Russian oil in other places, which are less stringent and which are much more corruption prone. This ship was bringing in oil into the Gambia, actually to West Africa, was trying to sell it, went around so many places could not sell.
Yeah.
And some Ghanaian chaps got in touch with them and knew that we could sell the oil, and they started another one was already based in the Gambia here. Another one came, set up a company. These were the Apoji Creed, companies. They set up those companies and started transacting and bringing that oil ship with substandard oil into the Gambia. And they managed to get Gam Petroleum to give them an exclusive contract for haulage, to the detriment of the oil marketing corporations which are here.
Oil marketing
Companies, yeah. Those people are sidelined and refuse the possibility of bringing in to the benefit of these Apoji and Creed companies, which are run by Ghanaian guys with a Russian lady who is based in Dubai. So you decide to kill off or handicap our own companies, which are based here, who are employing people here, who are paying taxes. Our private sector, which we're trying to develop, you kill off those people, and you bring in another company from outside and give them all those potentials to be able to take advantage of the country and sell us substandard oil and make money off us and go without even paying taxes. The parliamentary committees, parliamentary investigation, I'm not a fan of it because usually they are a way of burying things very deep in the Gambia. But this one did a very good job. Not complete, not comprehensive in any way. They should investigate further and together with the police to get to the bottom of everything. But they have done already a very good work at this point in time. The Public Enterprise Committee and the Finance and Public Accounts Committee plus the National Assembly did a good job on this. And for once, I would say, with the lead of NAMs from the ruling government.
Yeah.
The two NAMs who led on this are from NRP. I say bravo to them. Jawara and Jallo, these were the two who led on this. And they pushed for an inquiry, and it eventually happened. It was transferred to PEC and FPAC, which are headed by UDP NAMs. But this time around, they went beyond the party politics and did something for the country, which is extremely laudable. And they did a report which is very good, incomplete. There's much more work to be done. And they made recommendations. And these people brought in at least oil worth at least $35 million.
US dollars.
But the people in the committee are saying actually it's worth much more than that, about $60 million US dollars. We'll wait for the report to become finalized and probably more investigations being done. And that is what we have in this country. And that was all below the radar, as you say. And nobody was being challenged about this. Nobody was taking it up. And the Financial Intelligence Unit had done already a report on this.
Yeah.
It's called the Suspicion Transactions Report. Because Financial Intelligence Unit checks what's happening in the country in terms of the movement of funds within the country, particularly foreign exchange. In terms of the movement of large amounts of money in the country, trading or whatever business you have around natural resources and precious metals. They work on that, they check it, and they do a lot of good work on it. And they produced that STR report, Special Suspicious Transaction Report. They produced it. And they were trying to push it for government to take a look at it properly. But nobody was listening.
They were not interested.
It took those two NAMs, picking up this issue, for it to move forward. And we applaud those NAMs. And the FPAC and PEC on work they did on it, and National Assembly itself as a whole, even though some tried to block it, even though the SIS wanted to come in and be party to it, they stopped it, and they did their job. It is incomplete and should be taken forward so that we see exactly how far the ramifications went. They have recommended to Adama Barrow to fire or at least investigate the current Minister of Tourism, who was the Minister of Petroleum, and the current Minister of Interior, who was the Inspector General of Police, who meddled in the investigations, who were involved in so many different things, and they are telling them, investigate these people.
And also Yoro.
Yeah, Yoro, who was at the Gam Petroleum. Yeah. He was also, and the NAMs were complaining about that. He said he was so discourteous to them when they first went to talk to him, and when he came to the National Assembly, said he was so discourteous to them and telling them, you can't do anything to me, you know. And this is the gentleman who, according to NAMS, was asked, are you receiving $600,000 a month from Apoji? And he said, apparently he told them Apoji is free to give its money to whoever it wants, you know, and they don't have to ask him that. Can you imagine the arrogance?
This is the culture of impunity also.
It's not the impunity that creates arrogance. The National Assembly members investigating on a national issue come to talk to you, and you have the gumption to talk to them like that. And the NAMs are complaining about that. I was listening to two of them, to the Jawara and Jallo, you know, on another radio TV station, and they were very blunt about it. And the bits I got of the report, I'm waiting to lay hands on the whole report and go deep into it, is saying the same thing. So you have that major corruption case in the country, and everybody knew about it. And probably these guys were splashing money around to be able to get what they needed. Because it went to the point, the Minister of Petroleum at the time, that Alaji Joe, who is now Minister of Tourism, went ahead and changed policy.
On his own.
On his own, just to suit this company. They should be made to account for that. He should be investigated for that. If Barrow were the leader we wanted him to be in 2016, he would have at the very least, suspended those people while they carry out investigations. But the prima facie evidence against them is overwhelming. And they probably should have been put on the sideline, if not fired, at least suspended until investigations go ahead.
That's not going to happen.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Things like that don't happen.
No,
in this
not
government.
in this, not under the Barrow administration.
Okay.
It probably say it's a matter of opinion.
All I want to add to what you have said is that this is a very serious international scandal.
Yes.
Serious in the sense that there are international sanctions on Russia. And there are international sanctions on Russia's ability to trade in oil. For a bogus company to be set up in the Gambia by whoever, obviously with the support of the powers be, and for this transaction to go on, officially they are saying 35 million, but like you said, indications are that it's twice more than that.
Yes.
Could be around 60, 65 million US dollars.
Right.
And all of that resource was earned in the territory of the Gambia.
Yes.
And the company did not pay any tax on that income. And GRA hasn't enforced its tax compliance measures against these things. I saw in the testimony in the National Assembly, the GRA says by the time they start the process of sanctioning them, this company would have folded and left. So they did not. It's not a plausible explanation. The bottom line is no taxes were paid, and our authorities did not pursue this company and the principals of this company to
And
pay any taxes.
So what I heard from them, GRA had estimated the tax at $20 million.
Yes.
Was it collected? Was it not? If not, why? But this government has to talk to the Gambians, tell us what is happening. And especially it has to change its ways. You cannot run a country this way. This smacks of what? Mafia-like government.
Yeah.
The state capture is everywhere. While Gambians are dying of hunger, poverty, disease, malnutrition, a few people are living it up big. That cannot be condoned. That cannot be allowed to continue. Now, it's up to the Gambians to see what they want to do about this.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue supporting a government like that, which is treating you so badly, which is enriching itself shamelessly, whilst you are dying in poverty, in hunger and the like? Is that what you want for yourselves, or do you going to vote for a different party and change this government? The choice is yours, because you cannot love somebody so much as to have them treat you the way you're being treated now, or hate another political party for whatever reason, to a point that you're allowed to vote for somebody who is ruining our country and who's going to continue ruining you.
And you are suffering in
You are
the ruin.
suffering. You're suffering.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go to that point. Look at what is in your best interest. Is this government really serving your purpose? Is this government doing for you what you expect from your government to take care of your family and everyone, and give you a potential to grow and give you a fighting chance and you and your children? Is this government giving you that fighting chance? Are they giving you a potential to grow? Or are they just taking everything for themselves? How can the manager of Gambia Petroleum just receive $600,000 a month?
For how long, nobody knows.
Apparently from 2023, according to the investigation.
Since he was there.
So what else was being kicked up elsewhere? So these are the things we're talking about. We don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll see what comes out of the final report.
The next, we touched on the parliamentary thing, but the next topic, and this one, I think you've dealt with it in another platform, but let's still deal with it in this platform, and that is the appointment of the new chairman of the IEC and the deputy chairman of the IEC.
Yeah, we'll deal with it briefly. As you said, we've dealt with it in another platform. Joe Colley has been a close associate of Ali Momar Jai. And he was complicit in a number of things that Ali Momar Jai did. We sat with him in a number of platforms, and we discussed issues with him. And in some of those platforms, he acknowledged that things could have been better. Now, this is the opportunity for him now to make sure that things get better and work the way they're supposed to be in the Gambia. Before he could say, oh, I'm not the boss, I'm just working under somebody. Now he is the boss. He has the opportunity to become the Ali Momar Jai of 2016. 2016, Ali Momar Jai became a hero in the Gambia when he organized elections, which were free and fair, and Jammeh left. After the burning of their headquarters or party office or whatever we did with the cards. We don't want anybody to burn down anything anymore, but at least they can organize free and fair elections now, because we have everything that will allow free and fair elections. We have on-the-spot counting. We should have a proper electoral register, and that is on IEC. They can sanitize the electoral register. They can sanitize the registration of upcoming. They can look into this distribution of ID cards outside the country in all illegality. That again is their responsibility. So they can do so much. So I hope Joe Colley will rise to the occasion. He has the possibility. He can salvage his reputation and the reputation of the IEC. Because currently, it has to be said, his reputation is bad. He was complicit with Ali Momar Jai. They paid monies into their account which should never have happened. They refuse for those monies to be audited. But if they decide to move away from that now and do the right thing, I think we can all overlook the past, put that in the past, and move forward. He has another opportunity. His deputy chair was our classmate from Gambia High School. So not classmate, schoolmate. I think I was a class or two ahead of him. And we both studied in France. And I worked with him for a short while in the civil service here. And I knew him from the 70s. Doesn't make us look any younger, but I knew him from very long ago. I worked for the African Development Bank. He worked for the UN system, so I hear a lot about him there too. And he came back with a very good reputation from the UN in the difficult country like Congo. So I hope that he too will maintain that integrity, that good name, and make these people realize that they have a job to do for this country, and they have to do it properly to the best of their interest, and make sure that we have free, fair, and transparent elections. That is what we need. That's what we need. So the winner can walk away happy and go govern the country for the next 5 years, for the ensuing 5 years, and the loser would know that I lost years and I lost fairly and squarely. I'll go fight for another term. So this is what we need. So we have democratic transitions from one regime to another, peacefully and with all due respect. We've seen it happen in next door Senegal here. In spite of Maki's antics, the Electoral Commission did the right thing. And Senegal, the elections went without a hitch. And victory was announced the same night the voting took place. And we'll do the same thing in the Gambia. The elections will be organized the same and pronounced the same night. We saw it in Ghana recently, where another NPP was just kicked out of power. We can do the same thing here. Have free, fair, transparent elections, and let the winner know the same night who won, and then we move on. So what I'm saying is the IEC management, the new management, you have a golden opportunity to salvage this country, to salvage the reputation of the IEC, to do the right thing by the Gambians. Because whether you do it or not, we will do it. Because we will not allow anybody to steal our victory anymore. And in spite of some individuals saying that we will not accept anything but victory, we know we're going to win. We know we have the potential to win. We know the Gambian people are fed up with the Barrow administration, and they will vote for UDP and its coalition members. We know that. But especially we know that we have put in place what it takes to ensure our victory is not stolen anymore. So IEC can work together with the political parties, and we have free, fair, and transparent elections, and they walk away as heroes for good. Or they can decide to go rogue like Ali Omar Njai did, and then the country is in trouble.
Yeah,
the choice is theirs. But I hope they will do the right thing, and I think they will. I hope so.
Like you said, you and I have interacted with Joe in a public meeting settings.
Yeah.
We don't know him personally. Che, I know him also.
Yeah.
And when I was Secretary General, I wanted to appoint him something, and he declined it at the time based on a certain principle. I have known him to have that principle.
That is good, and that's what we all know him as.
So now it's up to the IEC. This is what is called Redemption Street.
Yeah, yes, I like
They
that.
have to redeem themselves. A lot of people don't have a lot of confidence in the IEC. And that is because of the IEC's own doing.
Yes, I wonder why.
The 301 million that was deposited or disbursed to the IEC, which ended up in their personal account, is still a question mark for a lot of people. Why did they disburse that money to them? Was it payment in lieu of what they did in 2021, or payment in lieu of what they will do in 2026?
Yeah.
Mama Kande made a statement in his Congress in summer. He says those who keep saying the politicians are going to light the country, burn the country, are just chastising politicians for the sake of chastising them. He says, but the people that are burning the country is the IEC, and the police, and the executive. He says, when people vote and they know they have defeated a government and you impose that on us, it's a license to conflict.
Yeah.
And I agree with Mama Kande on that one. I agree with him with a whole lot of other things. But that one stood out because he has spoken for a whole lot of Gambians. So now it's up to Che, no, it's up to Joe, Che, and Sambujanjai. Let's not forget Sambujanjai also has been there for more than 20 years.
I know.
And between him and Joe, they've all been there for more than 20 years. My issue, therefore, is Che is being sandwiched by these two individuals. And the question then becomes, what can he do in an environment like that? But as a professional with the highest standard, ethical standards, if things start playing out, I think the public should depend on Che to say, no, this cannot happen, and if it happens, he leaves. I tend to give the benefit of the doubt to everybody. I think Joe can change. I think Sambujan can change. I think Che can be resolved to continue to being that ethical professional. And if those two changes and Che remains who he is, then there is a good chance that we'll have free, fair, transparent elections. There is nothing more important than election integrity everywhere. And Gambia hasn't been lucky where election integrity is concerned, at least since 1994. And that needs to stop. The people have to be allowed to elect their president.
Exactly.
The people cannot accept the proposition that foreigners can elect our president for us. That is not acceptable, and it will not be accepted.
And especially that the administration can decide to impose itself on us by rigging the elections.
By rigging the elections, yes. Now, we know for some of them, this is a do or die. But when a cabinet minister says we will spill blood for Barrow if we have to, I got several messages. One of them says to me, tell the minister that we are already dead in the grave. So we got nothing to lose if he decides to spill blood.
But you see, what he just said there, we said at the time, if he's saying this is because he has Barrow's endorsement. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare say that, or if he did say it, he would have been fired. But Barrow recently said that he gets so angry with the opposition and the youth for calling him out, and that sometimes
holding
he has sleepless
him
nights,
accountable,
and he might do something very bad to people because they're holding him accountable. People who elected him, people who put their lives on the line for him to become president, and some died for him to become president. The families of those people are here. These are the people who stayed here and stood up to Jammeh when he fled and went to Mali and then to Senegal. He was born in a foreign land. But during that time, Gambians were here, suffering. Those who smuggled him out of the country were all fired eventually from their jobs. And he is back here as president. Instead of doing the right thing by those people and telling them, hey, you put your lives on the line for me, and now I'm going to fight for you too and make sure you have what you deserve. You telling them, I might hurt you badly because you're giving me sleepless nights and making me accountable. The president is supposed to be accountable to the people. We elect him. He works for us. We pay him handsomely for that. when we elect people into office, we tell them, you know what? We're going to free you from so many burdens so that you can concentrate on developing the country. We give you a free mansion, beautifully done, well-equipped, and everything that you need in there. We give you free food, free vehicles, free fuel, free housing, free clothing, anything, just name it. We give you everything for free so that you don't have to worry about those material things, and you can concentrate on developing the country. That's what we tasked them with during that period. And that's why we paid him handsomely. He's paid $500,000 every month. Let's not forget that. When he gets everything free, he gets everything that he needs free of charge. And he gets $500,000 on top of that. Instead of being grateful to the Gambia and the Gambians and fighting like crazy to get us what we need,
he's busy threatening us. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's a sad, sad. When I heard him say that, I said, well, okay, 2026 is going to be very interesting because I don't think people will let him do the things that he's contemplating to do.
Yeah. We said never again.
Yeah. So now on the Parliamentary Commission on the sale of the Jame assets, that's another issue. You see, this government, it's replete with one case of mismanagement and corruption and impunity from one case to another. In fact, when I was preparing for this thing, I said to myself, I am going to sit, not make things up, but all the audit reports I have, all 48 of them, I'll go over them and I'll do a compendium on corruption under this government. At least those that are in the public domain. And we'll do a program on that to say, since he came to power, these are the things that have happened, and try to cost them as much as possible. There is this culture of impunity, lack of transparency, even to some extent disrespect for Gambia, because the Commission of Inquiry, the Jane Commission, did its work. Now, I heard the former chairman, I think 2 days ago, at the Parliamentary Commission saying there was a lapse in the Commission's act because the Commission did not have a subsidiary legislation to it, like the TRC did. I was saying, really? You set up a commission and you don't include a subsidiary legislation to back it up? So basically, you can adduce that he is basically saying these things are happening by design. Because if they had done a subsidiary legislation for it, these things would not have happened. So nobody knows the exact amount of money that was realized from the sale of Jame's assets. You know, a lot of people benefited from the sale of these assets. And at some point, it will all come out. Those cars that went to Dakar are still unaccounted for. Those cars that went to Mauritania are still unaccounted for. And of course, the cattle, the other tangible assets, landed property and all. So we are sitting on a mound of various conflicts in the sense that the conflict between the public's right to know, the transparency required for the public to know, and the conflict and the need for the government to keep things as quietly as possible.
Yeah, and as you say, as you just said, we don't do things by improvising. We don't make it up. We base our work on solid evidence, on concrete documents and facts. And that's where we differ from them. Some of their ministers will come and just tell us whatever they feel like telling us, thinking that we're not smart enough to read through it. or to see through it. We have that happening several times. But whatever we say is based on fact. It's based on concrete evidence. Because we respect ourselves too much and the Gambian people to tell them anything that's not correct, that's not based on fact. The Russian scandal was big and everybody's talking about it. And you put this sale of assets just behind that. Yet, this happened years ago. Barrow commissioned the Janneh Commission. Everything that was done was couched in a report, and that report was submitted to the president, and they did a white paper on it, and they decided to move forward in implementation. Anything that was sold was already captured in that report. So when they are sold, we should know who bought them, for how much.
Yeah. And when.
And when and where. We should be able to know all of that. So what is the problem? Why can't they just release that information to the public? For me, it means that there is so much you don't want the public to see because a lot of things going on behind the scenes that you cannot admit to the public, so you deflect and you tell them whatever you want. It took the youth, the Gala youth, coming out to demonstrate for this whole thing to be taken into account again. Why? Why can't this government just do the right thing for once? The information is there, it's available. Why give it in bits and pieces? Release the whole report so we see what has happened. But no, they cannot, because there's a lot of illegality that happened around that. That's why they're taking all this time to do it. Yeah. Otherwise, why not just release it?
And you know, I mean, people are tired of these commissions. Yeah. You set up commissions, they cherry pick the recommendations, implement those, accept and implement those that favors them, and then discard the rest. I think Gambians are getting tired of that. Yeah. What Gambians would be looking for is for consequences to happen. In other words, there has to be a strong consequence management framework around these issues. Otherwise, it's just one step, 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards. We'll never get out of this commission parliamentary inquiry. I don't think, based on everything we are hearing in all the platforms, I don't think there is any Gambian that believes that anything will come out of these commissions and the parliamentary inquiries. Yeah. Nobody. In fact, somebody sent me a message and said, you know, they are just kicking the can down the road.
Yep, yep.
Nothing is going to happen. So,
yeah, and that is a tendency, because you say, oh, well, they will forget about it very soon. Let's just entertain them a bit. So you set up commissions, you do inquiries, they take months, time for people to forget what was happening, time for people to forget what made them angry, so you can start and move on to something else. And when the reports come, they are never implemented. Yeah. Because there was no intention to implement them in the first place. All that this government wants is to make us forget so that they can move on to something else. These assets were stolen from the Gambian people.
They belong to the Gambia.
And they were recovered because we said never again. We said we're going to make sure that that type of embezzlement and misappropriation and diversion of our resources will stop. So that's what happened. So those assets were impounded. The bank accounts were frozen. So he did everything to make sure that the Gambians can recover what belongs to them. And then you sell those, and the same people who were benefiting from them and the Jammeh regime seem to be benefiting again, plus a handful of other people who are co-opted into it. Why do we have to continue doing this same thing? Why do we have people who are supposed to be governing this country, making sure that every Gambian has a fair chance, every Gambian can live decently, why are those people taking care of only themselves? These reports and the investigations were unnecessary. This information should have been released ages ago. The China Commission submitted its report ages ago. The white paper was done ages ago. Why didn't they just implement it and report back on a quarterly or biannual or annual basis? And we see what is happening. And more importantly, tell us where that money is gone. What did you use that money for? Did you invest in anything that is productive? Did you invest in a way that you can teach our kids in the schools and universities, give them scholarships, provide them transportation and hostels on the campuses? Did you do that?
Okay.
So many things could have been done. We have today ministers that are renting
cannot pay the rent.
In private properties and cannot pay the rent, and they shouldn't be renting anyway.
But the funny thing is the rent has already been approved in the budget.
Yes, yes. And yet the government has all of these properties which have been seized from Jammeh.
Yeah.
We could have been used by the government for offices, for schools, for training centers, and what have you.
Yeah.
Why can't we just do that? Why do we have to sit there and wait for a group of people to come and just continue their ways? Buy all of those properties, buy all of those vehicles, etc., at giveaway prices, and make a killing. And the governments continue to suffer. Why?
We need to go.
Yeah.
I think we can. You can start your closing. I have a few things, one or two things to say on this thing.
Okay.
But you can start your closing remarks.
Yeah. In my closing remarks, I think the only thing to say, because we have said these things over and over again, we are coming back because we have to keep them on the radar. We have to keep them on the front burner. I mean, it's up to the Gambians now. You have seen how this government is destroying this country. Every now and then some scandal comes up, and each scandal seems to be worse than the one before. And we see what is happening to the country and its economy. Now the question is, are we going to be so conciliatory towards Barrow that will get him off the hook for this? Are we going to be so scared of him that we keep quiet about it? And that will lead to autocracy like he did under Jammeh. Or are we going to fight back and tell him, Adam Barrow, we recruit you, we pay for your stay at the State House. We pay for you and your family, we do everything for you for free, and we take very good care of you. If you cannot deliver, we'll look somewhere else. So you are gone. Pull him out of the way. Give it to somebody else who's going to do the work that he is paid to do and is not doing. And that somebody today is Hussein Dabo and UDP. Let's not hate ourselves to a point that we continue with a system that's destroying all of us. Let's not hate other people who could probably be voting for because you just don't like them, so you vote for the wrong person. You may not like me personally, but if you think that I can do something, you should be helping to vote. You may not like Hussein Dabo and UDP, but if you think that they have the solution to take the country where we need to be, why don't you consider doing that and holding Hussein Dabo and the UDP to account as we move along, so that they don't go anywhere near what was being done before them. That's what we need in this country. Let's do that. 26, let's make sure that we get Adam Barrow and his government out of power and salvage our country. That is the only way to go. If we continue like this, the Gambia is going to go bankrupt. And that is going to be horrible for each and every one of us. On that note, I say thank you very much.
I'll take it. The Gambia is already bankrupt.
Yeah.
The country is already bankrupt. If you look at the public pilferage of resources.
Yep.
I think Gambians have a clear idea of what this government is doing to the country. In terms of its lack of transparency, accountability, and the lack of consequences, which results into impunity. I think Gambians are seeing it. And I think Gambians are seeing this president and his government lashing out because Gambians are holding them accountable. For a sitting cabinet minister to say we are ready to spill blood for our president, and for a president to say I'll do bad things to those who hold me to account, speaks volumes.
Yeah, it does.
And I think that's all Gambians need to know. They are sitting on a pile of corrupt initiatives, left, right, and center. They don't want us to talk about it, but more importantly, they don't want us to hold them accountable for it. Otherwise, this offshore oil thing, the government could just come out and lay everything on the ground, even release the seismic reports and the contracts. The Russian oil saga, they could have taken legal action once the Economic Intelligence Unit did its report. If the police were doing their job the way they should, they could have charged people and it would not go to this level. IEC, the same. If we have people of integrity who are saying the will of the people matter to us, we are not going to help anybody rig an election, we have an ace in the IEC. We don't have that now. Now, like you, I was actually amazed at the level and the extent of work that the Parliamentary Commission did on the Jame assets. I didn't expect that, but I was very pleasantly surprised by it, and we have to say thank you to them. To the two parliamentarians who initiated it, and to the rest of the National Assembly, with our UDP NAMs and also those NAMs on the NPP side who are quiet, didn't do anything but applauding what was going on. And you know, shame to the leadership of the National for trying to make sure that things didn't happen in a certain way. I think Gambians have gone beyond that, and Gambians will resist anybody, any institution, to railroad them. But as always, we can expect some blowback from them in terms of deflection and even gaslighting some of the things that we are talking about. So with that, we thank the team at Eco TV. We also thank the viewers and listeners around, and we say hello to those people that we mentioned in the opening of our statement. Thank you very much.